Beloved, there are mornings when the weight upon the soul feels so tangible, you almost expect to see it lying there on the table beside your coffee cup, invisible to the eye, but heavier than any stone you could lift. Perhaps you woke today with such a weight. It presses upon the chest, makes the hours ahead seem like a mountain without a path. And in that heaviness, the heart quietly whispers, "Where do I go? Where can I breathe again?" It is here that the soul remembers, not with a clumsy grasp, but with the clarity born of desperation, that there is only one refuge that does not crumble, only one well that never runs dry. "When my heart is overwhelmed," wrote the psalmist, "lead me to the rock that is higher than I." Psalm 61, verse 2. And so I run to him. I do not stroll. I do not linger. I run, for he alone can bear what I cannot. Strength, you see, is a curious thing. The world teaches that strength is found in the tightening of the jaw, the straightening of the spine, the defiance of tears. But heaven teaches otherwise. In the kingdom of God, strength is born in surrender, and victory begins in the place of yielded knees. This is the paradox that confounds the proud, that we are strongest when we confess our weakness, and richest when we admit we are poor. For to run to Christ is not to admit defeat, it is to claim the only victory worth having. And the hands that once stretched wide upon the cross are the same hands that now lift the burdens we cannot carry. Yet our hearts resist this running, do they not? We live in an age that tells us to solve ourselves, fix ourselves, rescue ourselves. But the self is a poor savior, for when the storms rage, the self is a sinking boat with no anchor. To run to Christ is to abandon the foolish pride that says, "I will manage this alone," and instead embrace the truth that says, "I was never meant to manage it at all." He invites the weary and heavy laden, not the self-sufficient and well-armed. And if you feel you cannot run, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. The distance matters little. It is the direction that changes everything. Picture it. A child running home through the rain, clutching a broken toy, heart pounding, tears mixing with the drops on their face. They are not calculating the steps or considering the mud. They are moving toward the one place they know is safe. So it is with us. Our Father is not standing at the door with a lecture, but with a towel for our tears and arms that say, "You are safe now." And the miracle is this: as we draw near, the burden does not simply remain in our hands while he pats us on the head. No, he takes it. He shoulders it. The weight transfers from us to him, and in that holy exchange, we find the strange lightness of those who know they are carried. And perhaps even now as you listen, the heaviness feels unchanged. You might say, "I have prayed before, and the burden remained." But consider, strength is not always the removal of the weight, but the giving of wings beneath it. An eagle still feels the pull of gravity, yet it rides the wind so that the weight no longer defines its motion. God may not always take you out of the storm, but he will teach you how to walk upon the water in its midst. And in those moments, the very trial that once threatened to crush you becomes the very thing that drives you deeper into the heart of Christ. Even now there is an invitation. It does not come with fanfare, nor does it demand you muster some heroic faith. It simply says, "Come to me." The one who hears that call and obeys it, no matter how trembling the steps, will discover a strength not their own, a peace that mocks the fury of the storm, and a hope that stands when all else falls. And when you have found that place, the world may still howl, but the heart will answer, "I know where I run when life feels heavy."
And yet, there is a strange truth we learn only in the pressing seasons. The heaviness itself can become a holy tutor. We imagine that peace comes only when the load is lifted, but often the Lord allows the weight to remain so that we might discover his strength beneath it. Like a candle that shows its brightest glow in the surrounding dark, the presence of Christ becomes most vivid when every other light has gone out. If life were always gentle, we might mistake our own comfort for his nearness. But in the hours when our hearts are breaking, we see with startling clarity that every breath of hope we have is not drawn from ourselves, but given from above. There are days when the burden feels like a shadow that follows you from morning until night, whispering in your ear, trying to persuade you that it will always be so. That shadow thrives on convincing you that God is silent, that your prayers ricochet back unanswered. But shadows exist only because there is light somewhere. And even if the light seems hidden, even if the dawn is slow in coming, it is no less certain. For the God who commands the sun to rise has not forgotten how to speak into the darkness, "Let there be light." Faith, then, is not closing our eyes and pretending the shadow is gone, but keeping our eyes fixed on the certainty that light will have the final word. You might think of a traveler lost in a forest at night. The path is unseen, the air thick with the rustle of unseen things, yet in the distance there is the faint flicker of a lantern. The traveler cannot see the one holding it, but the glow is enough to draw them forward. That is the soul's journey in a season of heaviness. The light of God's promise may seem faint compared to the darkness that surrounds, but it is enough. And as you keep moving toward it, you find that the one holding the lantern is not stationary. He has been walking toward you all along. And here lies the comfort the world cannot give. You are not asked to be the source of your own courage. You are not commanded to produce a joy you do not feel or a strength you do not possess. Rather, you are invited to take the little you have, even if it is only the smallest seed of faith, and place it into His hands. A seed, after all, is a small thing, yet in the right soil, it becomes something that can weather storms and offer shade to the weary. God does not despise the day of small beginnings, nor does He dismiss the trembling prayer. He hears it, treasures it, and waters it with His own Spirit until what was once fragile grows into something unshakable. This is why we run to Him, not merely because we are weak, but because He delights to meet us in our weakness. His grace is not a reluctant charity, it is a fierce, eager rescue. When Paul pleaded for the thorn to be removed, God did not promise absence of pain, but the presence of sufficient grace. My strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. There is a strange and beautiful arithmetic here. The more we yield our lack to Him, the more His abundance becomes our portion. So if life is heavy today, do not believe the lie that you must first grow strong before you can approach Him. Come as you are, weary, wounded, and honest. Lay the burden before Him, not as one laying an offering on an altar and then walking away burdenless in an instant, but as one placing a stone into the hands of a master builder who knows how to make even this weight part of a greater design. And as you watch His hands work, you may begin to see that what you thought was meant to break you has been shaping you all along.
There is a peculiar mercy in the way God allows our hearts to be stretched. In the moment, it feels like a tearing, the fabric of our patience thinning, the threads of our courage fraying. But afterward, we discover that what was stretched has not been destroyed, it has been enlarged. The capacity to trust Him grows not in the calm meadow, but in the storm-tossed sea. It is there, when the horizon is swallowed by clouds, that we learn to steer not by sight, but by the voice that says, "Do not be afraid, it is I." And when the storm passes, we find our hearts are now wide enough to carry more hope than they could before. Too often, we imagine strength as a sudden surge, a great burst of bravery that carries us through a trial. But the strength God gives is often quiet, steady, almost unnoticeable, until we look back and realize we have been upheld every step.
It is the daily manna in the wilderness, just enough for today. It is the oil in the widow's jar, never overflowing, but never running dry. The miracle is not always in the removal of the weight, but in the way we find ourselves able to stand under it day after day, because His hand is beneath us. And make no mistake, His hand is not some distant idea or poetic sentiment. It is real. It is the unseen reality beneath every visible thing. It is the reason the world still turns, the reason your heart still beats, the reason you woke this morning instead of being swallowed by despair. If we could see what His hand holds back on our behalf, the dangers averted, the temptations restrained, the unseen mercies poured out, we would fall to our knees in gratitude. The very breath you take while feeling crushed is itself proof that the crushing is not final. There is a temptation in seasons of heaviness to measure God's care by our immediate relief. If the pain persists, we imagine He must be distant, but that is to confuse the role of the shepherd. A shepherd does not always remove the sheep from the valley the moment danger appears. Sometimes he walks beside them through it, using his rod and staff to ward off threats and guide each step. The presence of the valley does not mean the absence of the shepherd. In fact, the valley is where His presence is often most closely felt. Picture the disciple Peter stepping out onto the waves. At first, there is exhilaration. The impossible is happening beneath his feet. But the wind rises, the water swells, and fear seizes him. He begins to sink, crying out for help. And instantly, not after a delay, not after a lecture, Jesus reaches out His hand. This is the truth for you today. Even if your faith falters, even if your strength collapses, His arm does not grow short. The cry for rescue does not need to be eloquent. It only needs to be honest. And perhaps this is where the deepest transformation takes place, in realizing that God is not only the one we run to when life feels heavy, but the one who runs toward us with greater urgency. The prodigal son did not make it to the door before the Father embraced him. The Father met him on the road. So it is with us. Before we can finish our confession, before we can offer our explanation, He has already wrapped us in the assurance that we are His. And when you begin to live in that assurance, the heaviness does not have the final say. The same weight that once drove you into despair becomes the weight that keeps you anchored in His presence. You no longer fear the load, for you have learned where to bring it. And strangely, the very act of carrying it with Him makes you stronger for the next trial, not in self-reliance, but in God-reliance.
There comes a moment in every believer's life when we realize that the burden we carry is not random. It is not some cruel accident of fate, nor a careless oversight in God's plan. It has been permitted, and even in its heaviness, it has been shaped by the hands of one who loves us beyond measure. This does not mean He delights in our pain, far from it, but like a master sculptor who chisels away at the stone, He sees the form that is hidden within us, and the blows we feel as loss are often the precise strikes that release what He has been shaping all along. This truth can be hard to embrace when our hearts are raw. We look at our wounds and think only of what has been taken. But in the kingdom of God, loss is never the end of the story. The grain of wheat must fall into the ground and die before it can bear much fruit. Death gives way to resurrection. Sorrow gives way to joy. The cross gave way to an empty tomb. If we belong to Him, then even the heaviest chapters of our lives are woven into this divine pattern. What seems to be breaking us is often preparing us to hold a greater glory. And this is why the Christian can speak of hope even in the language of tears. It is not because we have trained ourselves to ignore reality, but because we see reality in its fullest frame, the part that lies beyond the present moment. We know that today's heaviness is not the whole picture. Paul could call his sufferings light and momentary,
not because they were small in themselves, but because he measured them against an eternal weight of glory that far outweighed them. Imagine placing a heavy stone on one side of the scale, only to see the other side suddenly filled with mountains. The stone is still there, but it no longer tips the balance. Still, God does not ask us to pretend the stone is light. He does not dismiss the ache in our shoulders or the strain in our backs. He does not scold the weary heart for feeling weary. Instead, he steps beside us, bearing the load himself, so that even if the weight remains, we are no longer alone under it. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you. Isaiah 41:10. These are not merely words on a page. They are the oath of the Almighty, written in blood and sealed in his unchanging nature. There is a quiet courage that comes from believing this, not a noisy bravado, but the kind of steady peace that allows a soul to keep moving forward when every visible sign says it should collapse. It is the courage of the soldier who knows the battle is already won, though the skirmishes rage around him. It is the calm of the sailor who knows the captain has charted the course even when the waves rise high. Such peace is not born of ignoring the storm, but of trusting the one who commands it. And as you walk with him in this way, something extraordinary happens. Your burden becomes a testimony. The very weight that once threatened to sink you becomes the proof that his grace is enough. Others will look and wonder how you endured, and you will have only one answer. I ran to him, and he carried me. And that answer will plant seeds in their hearts, seeds that may one day bloom when their own heaviness comes.
There is a sacred intimacy that forms between the soul and God when we walk through heaviness together. It is different from the joy of the mountaintop or the calm of green pastures. This is the closeness born in the narrow valley, where shadows loom and the air feels thick with silence. Here, words between you and him are often few, not because there is nothing to say, but because his presence is enough to quiet the need for constant speech. Sometimes all you can manage is, "Lord, help me," and sometimes even that feels like too much. Yet he hears the unspoken groan of the heart as clearly as the most eloquent prayer. In this place, trust begins to deepen in ways we could not have imagined when the path was easy. The trust of abundance is real, but it is often fragile. It has not yet been tested. But the trust that grows in trial, that is a different thing altogether. It is the trust of a child who has seen the Father catch them again and again, who no longer doubts that the arms will be there even before the leap begins. And when the soul reaches that point, fear begins to lose its power, not because the circumstances have grown lighter, but because the love of God has grown larger in our sight. Yet, we must be honest. There are days when the heaviness feels unrelieved, when prayers seem to drift unanswered into the sky. On those days, the enemy whispers, "You are forgotten. Your running to him has been in vain." But the truth stands unchanged. God's silence is never the silence of absence. The teacher may be quiet during the test, but the teacher has not left the room. The gardener may seem hidden beneath the soil, but his hands are still tending the roots. What we perceive as delay is often the slow, deliberate work of shaping us for something we cannot yet see. And when the answer comes, whether in the form we hoped for or in a better form we never imagined,
It will not come as a cold transaction. It will come as the embrace of one who has walked every step beside you. Remember, our Savior is not untouched by the feeling of our infirmities. He too knew the sweat of anguish, the weight of sorrow, the loneliness of dark hours. When we run to Him, we do not run to one who merely understands from a distance. We run to one who has been there, who has walked through the heaviness and emerged with scars that shine with glory. In that knowledge, our steps grow steadier. The same path that felt impossible yesterday becomes today's place of meeting with Him. And slowly, we begin to see that the valley is not just a place to survive. It is a place to encounter. We start to notice the manna in the morning, the whisper of His Spirit in the stillness, the gentle hand that steadies us when our knees buckle. Even in the valley, there are streams, moments of grace that refresh the soul until the next bend in the road. And so, running to Him becomes not only what we do when life feels heavy, but what we do always. The habit of seeking Him in trial begins to spill over into the moments of joy, the ordinary hours, the quiet days. We discover that the strength we found in the storm is the same strength that carries us in the sunshine, and we are less tempted to wander far from the shelter we've learned to trust. For once you have found the rock that is higher than you, there is no safer place to stand.
There is a hidden blessing in learning to run to God before we run anywhere else. Most of us, if we are honest, have tried the opposite order, turning first to our own reasoning, or to the comfort of others, or to the distractions that promise momentary relief. And for a brief while, these may seem to help, but like salt water to a thirsty man, they leave us emptier than before. Only in the living water of Christ do we find refreshment that does not fade. Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, He said to the woman at the well. But whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty forever. John 4:13 through 14. This is the difference between relief and renewal. One is temporary, the other eternal. Running to Him first is an act of both humility and wisdom. It is humility because it admits we are not enough in ourselves. It is wisdom because it recognizes that no one else, no friend, no system, no inner strength can do for us what only God can do. The soul that makes a habit of this will find that the distance between the first blow of heaviness and the first step toward Him grows shorter and shorter, until the moment of trouble and the act of prayer are nearly the same breath. This is what it means to pray without ceasing, not to speak endlessly, but to live in such continual nearness that turning to Him becomes as natural as inhaling. In such a life, strength begins to look different. It is no longer the brittle kind that depends on circumstances going our way. It is not the thin veneer of composure that cracks under pressure. It is a strength with roots, roots that reach into the unshakable ground of His character. The winds may bend the branches, but the tree does not fall, because the roots are anchored in what cannot be moved. This is why the psalmist could say, "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear." But here is the paradox. The stronger we grow in Him, the quicker we are to run back to Him. The world might think maturity means needing Him less. In truth, maturity means knowing we need Him more. A child might wander far from the parent's side, convinced of their independence.
But the seasoned traveler knows the dangers of the road and stays near the guide. So it is with the soul that has walked with Christ through many valleys. We do not outgrow our dependence, we deepen it. And this dependence is not a chain, but a freedom. The one who depends on self is enslaved to their own limits. The one who depends on God moves within His limitless strength. This is why Paul could speak of being sorrowful, yet always rejoicing, having nothing, yet possessing everything. When the world's definitions of strength, success, and security fail, we are not undone because our hope rests elsewhere. In time, you will see that running to Him is not just the answer to the heaviness, it is the answer to everything. For in Him, burdens are lifted, yes, but more than that, in Him, we are changed. We are no longer the same weary soul that began the race. We are being remade into His likeness. And the more we run to Him, the more we find that we are not merely running for relief, but running toward the joy of His presence, which is the true reward.
When we live in this rhythm of running to God, a strange reversal takes place. What once drove us to despair begins to drive us to worship. This is not because the pain itself is sweet, but because the one who meets us in the pain is sweeter still. It is a kind of alchemy of the soul. Heaviness is not erased, but transformed. The tears that once felt like evidence of God's absence become the very drops through which His light refracts, scattering hope into every corner of our hearts. We find ourselves saying, as the psalmist did, "It is good for me that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes." Not good in itself, but good in what it has wrought, good in how it has drawn us nearer to Him. This is the mystery of grace, that God takes the things meant to harm us and folds them into His purposes, weaving threads of redemption where we saw only knots of pain. The enemy means to crush you with the weight you carry, but God uses it to press you deeper into His heart. And in time, you will find that your story carries a fragrance, the aroma of Christ, recognizable to those who have walked their own hard roads. You will meet someone whose shoulders stoop beneath their own unseen load, and you will be able to say, "I know that weight, and I know the one who lifted mine." In that moment, your heaviness will have been transformed into a gift for someone else's healing. But this transformation does not happen in an instant. It grows in the soil of daily surrender, in the repeated act of choosing His way over ours. Every morning that you wake and place the burden into His hands again, you are training your soul in the art of trust. Some days, the transfer feels complete. The weight is lifted. Your step is light. Other days, you will carry it longer than you wished, and yet you will carry it with Him, and that with Him changes everything. Do not be discouraged if the process feels slow. God is not in a hurry to produce shallow results. He is shaping eternal ones. The goldsmith does not remove the metal from the fire until it reflects His face. So it is with you. The refining may feel unending, but His gaze never leaves you, and His hands never lose their grip. He is not merely giving you strength for this moment. He is making you strong for eternity. This is why, even when life feels heavy, you can say with conviction, "I will run to you." For you know now that the running itself is a declaration of faith. Faith that He is there, faith that He is good, faith that His arms are open. And every time you run, you are answering the most important question of all. Not how will I survive this, but where will I go with this? If you run to Him, you will not be disappointed. You will not find the door shut or the welcome cold.
you will find the same heart that welcomed you yesterday and the same love that will welcome you tomorrow. And one day, perhaps sooner than you think, you will look back and see how far you've come. The weight you thought would bury you will be a stone rolled away, and you will stand in the light of a morning you didn't think you'd live to see. And in that light, the first thing you will say will not be, "Look how strong I was," but "Look how faithful He has been."
There is a quiet authority that settles into the life of someone who has learned to run to God again and again. It is not loud or self-advertising. Rather, it speaks in the calm of a person who knows where their help comes from. Such a soul has no need to boast in their own resilience because they have tasted the sweetness of God's faithfulness and know it far surpasses anything they could manufacture on their own. This kind of authority is not earned by achievement, but given through surrender. The deep, repeated surrender that says, "Lord, I cannot, but you can." And this is why running to Him in heaviness is not just survival, it is training for eternity. Every time we choose His presence over our own strategies, we are rehearsing for the day when faith will become sight. We are practicing trust in the one we will one day see face to face. On that day, there will be no heaviness left to run from, but there will still be the joy of running to Him. Heaven itself is, in a way, the ultimate fulfillment of this lifelong reflex. Every need, every longing, every delight met fully in Him. For now, though, we live in the already and not yet. We already have His Spirit dwelling in us, already know the nearness of His voice, already taste His comfort in our trials, yet we do not yet see the full unveiling of His kingdom. And in this in-between, the burdens are real. The nights can still feel long. But this is where the habit of running to Him proves its worth. It is our way of saying, even in the dark, I know where my dawn comes from. When you begin to see life through this lens, the heaviness that once felt like an interruption to your faith becomes the very place where your faith grows strongest. You no longer view trials as detours from the real journey, but as part of the road itself, the part where you walk closest to your guide. And though you would not have chosen the weight, you begin to see that it has kept you near the only one strong enough to carry it. Consider again the image of the prodigal returning home. He came heavy with shame, loss, and hunger, a weight of his own making. And yet the father did not demand he shed that weight before stepping onto the property. No, the father ran to meet him, lifted it from his shoulders, and replaced it with a robe, a ring, and a feast. This is how God meets us. We arrive heavy, we leave clothed in His goodness. And once you have experienced such mercy, you do not delay your running the next time. In fact, the more you run to Him, the more you begin to sense His nearness before you even move. You realize that He has been drawing you all along, that your running is simply a response to His coming toward you. And this turns the whole picture upside down. Running to Him is not a desperate chase after a God who might turn away, but an eager step into the embrace of a God already leaning toward you. And when that truth takes root, the heaviness you feel will never again have the power to define you. It may visit, but it will not stay. It may press, but it will not crush. For you will know in the marrow of your bones that there is always somewhere to go, always someone to carry what you cannot. And that knowledge, that living, breathing certainty, will change the way you face every day for the rest of your life.
There is something unshakable about a soul that has learned, through trial, that God is both the beginning and the end of every answer. When heaviness comes, it no longer feels like an unfamiliar intruder. Instead, it becomes a signal, a reminder to turn toward the one who has carried us before. This is not resignation, it is recognition. We know now that the weight is not the final word, and that running to him is not an act of panic, but of purpose. We go because we have learned that his presence is our home, and there is no safer place to be than with the one who knows us fully and loves us still. In this way, trials become tutors of trust. They train us to lean into the eternal instead of clutching at the temporary. They loosen our grip on what will fade and tighten our grip on the one who never changes. And as we return to him again and again, our dependence ceases to feel like weakness and begins to feel like wisdom. For what is wiser than to rest in the arms of the Almighty? What is safer than to place the whole of our weary soul into the hands that shaped the stars? And here is another paradox. The more you rely on him, the lighter your step becomes, even if the load remains the same. It is as if the burden, while still present, has been caught up in a greater current, one that bears it and you along. This is why Jesus could say, "My yoke is easy, and my burden is light." He does not promise no burden, but he promises his burden, and the difference is everything. A burden carried with him is no longer a weight that crushes, but a weight that shapes. Think of the potter at his wheel, pressing his hands into the clay. The clay does not understand the shape being formed. It only feels the pressure. If the clay could speak, it might beg for the pressure to stop, mistaking it for harm. But the potter knows, without that shaping, the clay will never become what it was meant to be. So it is with the heaviness we feel. We see only the pressing. He sees the beauty being revealed. And when we run to him in the midst of it, we are saying, "I trust the hands that hold me, even if I do not yet see what they are making." Over time, you will find that this trust gives birth to courage, not the reckless courage that denies danger, but the steady courage that walks into uncertainty, knowing who walks beside you. And this courage, born of his presence, begins to spill into every corner of life. You face tomorrow's unknowns with the same reflex that carried you through today's heaviness. You run to him, and because you do, fear's voice grows quieter, its grip weaker. Then one day, you may realize that what once drove you to him in desperation now draws you to him in devotion. You will go to him not only when life feels heavy, but simply because you long to be where he is. The burdens will still come, as they do for us all, but they will no longer be your master. They will be your messenger, reminding you of the rock that is higher than you, the refuge that has never failed you.
There is a strange mercy in the weight that bends us low. At first, we resist it. We call it a burden, a trial, an unfair season. Yet, in God's mysterious way, the very weight we want to escape often becomes the thing that reshapes us most beautifully. A tree that stands in still air grows tall but fragile. A tree that grows in the wind learns to root itself deep into the soil. So it is with the soul under pressure. The gales of life drive our roots deeper into the rock that cannot be moved. The truth is, God is far more interested in our depth than our speed. We crave quick answers, instant relief, and rapid breakthroughs, but he is after something richer, a faith that will not fracture when the ground shakes. Sometimes he allows us to carry the heaviness because he knows it will drive us to him in ways that comfort never would. And strangely, when you run to him in those moments, you find he was already running toward you.
consider the prodigal son, trudging home with the shame of wasted years clinging to him like rags. He thought he was walking toward a long lecture and a closed door. Instead, his father ran to him, wrapped him in an embrace, and clothed him in honor. That's the heart of God toward you in your heaviness. You imagine he waits with arms crossed, but in truth, he rushes to meet you, even while you are still far off. And when he meets you, he doesn't just lift the weight, he teaches you how to walk with him through it. We often want him to change our circumstances first, but God knows that if he changes our hearts first, the circumstances lose their power to crush us. The miracle isn't only when the storm stops, it's when you can stand in the storm and still sing. So, if you feel pressed on every side, take courage. You are not being abandoned, you are being shaped. You are not being overlooked, you are being prepared. The goldsmith holds the gold in the fire, not because he wants to destroy it, but because he sees the reflection of his own face appearing in it. And in the same way, God is using this season to refine you until his image is more visible in your life. One day, the heaviness you feel now will become a testimony on your lips. You will tell others, "I thought it would break me, but it built me. I thought it would bury me, but it became the soil for something new to grow." And the comfort you receive now will not be wasted. You will carry it to someone else who is struggling under their own weight. And your words will breathe life into them because they come from a place you have walked yourself. And perhaps that is the hidden purpose of all of this, that you might know him more deeply and help others find him when their own nights feel long. For the light you discover here will shine brighter than you think, and it will be a light someone else desperately needs. There will be seasons in life when you feel like you're walking through fog. You can't see what's ahead, and every step feels uncertain. You pray, but the answers don't come right away. You worship, but the atmosphere around you feels heavy. You read the word, but it's like your heart is slow to respond. It's in these seasons that God often teaches us something profound. That his presence is not always about a dramatic feeling, but about a steady truth. Faith is not built only on the moments when you feel him. It's also built in the moments when you choose to trust him, even in the quiet. Think about the disciples on the boat in the middle of the storm. The waves were crashing, the wind was howling, and they were terrified. Jesus was with them, physically, right there in the boat, and yet they still panicked. They forgot, in the chaos, that the presence of the Savior meant the storm was not the final word. It wasn't until he stood up and spoke, "Peace, be still," that they remembered who he was. Sometimes God lets us go through moments where he doesn't instantly calm the storm. Instead, he walks with us through it to teach us that his presence is the anchor, not the absence of waves. When the heaviness feels like it won't lift, you have to speak to yourself. This feeling is not the truth. The truth is that God is with me. The truth is that he has never left my side. The truth is that my future is safe in his hands. These declarations don't make the fog disappear instantly, but they build a path through it. Every time you choose trust over fear, you are training your spirit. Every time you choose worship over worry, you are building spiritual muscle. Every time you choose to keep moving forward instead of giving up, you are declaring that your hope is not in what you see, but in the one you know. And here's the beautiful part. The fog doesn't last forever. The storm doesn't rage forever. The heaviness doesn't stay forever. At just the right time, God breathes fresh wind into your sails. The light breaks through, your steps feel steady again, and you realize you've come out stronger, softer, and more deeply anchored in him than before. When that day comes, you'll look back and see, What felt like silence was actually God holding you close. What felt like delay was God building your faith. And what felt like heaviness was actually preparing you to carry greater peace for the next chapter of your life. There comes a moment in every believer's life when they realize that God's presence is not just a place to visit during crises, it is meant to be home. At first, you might run to Him because you feel like you have nowhere else to go. The pain, the fear, the uncertainty, they drive you into His arms like a storm drives a ship into harbor. But over time, something changes. You stop running only in emergencies and start running simply because you've learned there's no better place to be. This is when your relationship with God deepens beyond circumstance. You begin to know Him not only as deliverer, but as friend, not only as rescuer, but as companion. You see that He's not merely solving your problems, He's shaping your heart. And even though the circumstances might not change instantly, your perspective does. You realize that peace is not the absence of trouble, but the presence of God in the middle of it. In those moments, Scripture comes alive in ways it never did before. Words you've read 100 times suddenly breathe with new life because you've lived them. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1 stops being a poetic line and becomes a declaration you've tested in the valley. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28 ceases to be a nice invitation and turns into a lifeline you've grabbed in the dark. And as these truths take root, you find yourself less shaken by life's uncertainties. Not because you've grown harder, but because you've grown softer toward Him. Your reflex is no longer to tighten your grip, but to loosen it. You understand now that God's hands are safer than yours will ever be. And so when heaviness tries to settle in again, you recognize it sooner. You know the signs, the anxious thoughts that keep circling, the fatigue that seeps into your soul. The sense of carrying more than you were meant to. You've walked this road before, and you know the way out is the same every time. Run to Him. Sometimes that running will look like silent prayer with tears streaming down your face. Sometimes it will be reading the Word until peace finds you. Other times it will be worship that lifts you into joy you can't explain. And sometimes it will be as simple as sitting in stillness, whispering, I'm here, Lord, and letting Him remind you He's there too. With each return, your trust grows, not because life has gotten easier, but because you've seen Him be faithful in the hard parts. The same God who met you last time will meet you again. And while the enemy may still try to weigh you down, he can no longer convince you that you have to carry it alone. So you keep running, not away from the weight, but toward the one who carries it. And with every step, the load lightens, your faith strengthens, and your soul remembers. Home is not a place you go when all else fails. Home is where He is, and He is here, always.
Lord, I come before you not with the illusion of strength, but with the honest admission of my need. The weight I feel is not something I can throw off with sheer willpower. It clings to me in thoughts that circle endlessly, in fears that tighten their grip when I try to sleep, in questions that seem to have no answer. And yet you have told me not to fear, for you are with me. You have said, cast all your anxiety on me because I care for you. So here I am, casting, not gently laying down, not placing it neatly, but throwing my burdens toward you, trusting that your hands are stronger than my arms, that your shoulders are broader than mine.
I admit that too often I measure my strength by my ability to keep going without asking for help. But that is the world's lie, not your truth. Your word says that in my weakness, your strength is made perfect. And so I will stop pretending to be unshakable. I will instead cling to the one who cannot be shaken. When I am weary, you do not condemn me. You invite me to come to you, to find rest for my soul. When I have nothing left to give, you do not turn away. You fill my emptiness with yourself. Lord, teach my heart that running to you is not failure, it is faith. Teach me that needing you does not make me weak, it makes me wise. Let me no longer carry the weight of trying to hold together what only you can sustain. I will run to you when my mind is clouded with confusion. I will run to you when my spirit is heavy with grief. I will run to you when my hope feels thin and fragile. And I will not wait until I reach the end of myself. I will run to you at the very start, because in you is the only strength worth having. You are my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. You are the steady ground beneath my feet when everything else feels unstable. You are the voice that speaks peace into storms, the light that breaks through the thickest darkness. And even when the storm doesn't pass right away, you give me a peace that is deeper than the waves, a hope that does not sink with the ship, a joy that does not vanish with the sunlight. Father, I pray that today you would enlarge my vision of who you are. I do not want to only see you as my helper in trouble, though you are that. I want to see you as my very life, my constant sustainer, the one who holds all things together by the word of your power. I want to remember that you are not wringing your hands in worry over my circumstances. You are the King, seated on the throne, unthreatened by the things that frighten me. And because I am yours, nothing can touch me before passing through the filter of your perfect love. So I lay down my pride, my frantic need to control, my restless habit of rehearsing what if in my mind. Instead, I choose to trust you with even if the outcome is not what I expect, I will believe that you are still good. Even if the answer takes longer than I want, I will believe that your timing is better than mine. Even if the path is steep and the valley deep, I will believe that you walk beside me and will bring me safely through. I run to you, Lord, not for a momentary escape, but for a lifelong anchor. Keep me near, for in your presence the weight begins to lift, the shadows lose their grip, and my heart beats strong again. And when I rise from this place of prayer, let me rise not with the strength I muster, but with the strength you provide. Strength that cannot be drained, because it flows from the eternal, unshakable heart of God.
Lord, I continue in your presence, not because I must, but because my soul longs to stay here. There is a stillness that settles over me when I sit before you, a quiet strength that rises from deep within, reminding me that I am not alone in any battle I face. The world may demand that I hurry, decide, solve, and prove myself, but you invite me to slow down, to be still, and to know that you are God. I do not have to carry the pressure to always know what to do, for you are my wisdom. I do not have to hold together every piece of my life, for you are my keeper. Today, Lord, I give you the parts of me that are tired, the kind of tired that sleep alone cannot fix, the tired that comes from wrestling with thoughts that won't be quiet, from trying to love others when my own heart feels empty, from running on empty but still pretending I'm fine.
You see the truth I hide from others. You see the weight that my smile tries to disguise. And still, you welcome me. No mask, no performance, no pretending. Just me, as I am. You remind me that my worth is not measured by my productivity, by my progress, or by my ability to impress. My worth is anchored in the unchanging fact that I belong to you. Before I did anything for you, before I served, before I succeeded, before I tried to be strong, you already called me yours. And nothing I face today can undo that truth. So I ask you, Lord, to meet me in the places that feel dry. Pour your living water into the desert places of my soul. Where my faith feels thin, strengthen it. Where my joy feels faint, renew it. Where my hope feels distant, draw it near. Let your presence be more real to me than my fear, more steady than my emotions, more constant than my circumstances. Father, guard my mind today. Let my thoughts be anchored in truth, not carried away by lies or distractions. Let my heart be tender toward your voice and quick to turn away from anything that dulls my love for you. And when I feel the pull of old fears, old habits, or old wounds, remind me that I am a new creation in Christ. The old has gone, the new has come. I am not who I used to be, and I will not go back to the chains that once held me. I declare in your name, Jesus, that I will walk in peace today. Not because everything will go exactly as I want, but because you are with me in everything. I will choose gratitude over grumbling. I will choose prayer over panic. I will choose faith over fear, not by my own strength, but by the strength that comes from you. Lord, keep me sensitive to your leading. Help me notice the people you place in my path, the ones who need encouragement, the ones who need a kind word, the ones who need to be reminded that they matter. Let me be an extension of your love to them. Even when I feel like I have little to give, remind me that with you, little becomes more than enough. Thank you for the assurance that nothing in my day will catch you off guard. You are already in my tomorrow, preparing the way. You are already working in the unseen, aligning things for my good and for your glory. So I do not have to live in constant readiness for disaster. I can live in confident expectation of your goodness. I run to you again, Lord, and I will keep running to you, not only in crisis, but in the ordinary moments too. For every breath is a gift from you, and every step I take is sustained by your mercy. Keep me close, keep me grounded, keep me in the shadow of your wings, where I am safe, secure, and unshaken.
Lord, I remain here before you because there's something in my spirit that knows I cannot step into this day without being filled by you first. I've tried walking in my own strength before, and I've seen how quickly I fall. I've seen how easily my emotions take over, how frustration comes faster than patience, how worry drowns out faith. But when I begin with you, when I quiet myself and listen, there's a stability that nothing else can give me. Today, I surrender my plans into your hands. You know what lies ahead. You see the moments that will challenge me and the ones that will bring joy. You already know the conversations I'll have, the decisions I'll face, and the thoughts that will try to creep in and pull me away from your peace. So I place it all in your control now, before I even take the first step. I ask you to guide my words, Lord. Let what I say today build up, not tear down. Let my tone be gentle, even when I need to speak truth. Let my words bring light into heavy spaces. And if I'm tempted to respond in anger or impatience, help me pause long enough to hear your spirit telling me this is not the way. I want to speak with wisdom, not just emotion. I want my words to reflect the grace I've received from you. Father, protect my heart from offense today. It's so easy to hold on to small hurts and let them grow into bitterness. But I know that offense is a trap, and I refuse to live caught in it. Help me to forgive quickly, to let go easily, and to trust that you will handle whatever is unjust. I don't have to fight every battle. Some battles are won by simply trusting you to be my defender. I pray for my mind to be guarded against lies. Lies about who I am, lies about my future, lies about your goodness. The enemy loves to plant seeds of doubt and fear, but your word is my shield. Remind me of what is true when I'm tempted to believe otherwise, that I am loved, that I am chosen, that I am secure in you, that my future is in your hands, and that you are faithful to finish the work you started in me. Lord, keep me from rushing through today. Teach me to move at your pace, to not hurry past the moments where you want to speak to me. Even in the busiest hours, help me to be aware of your presence. A whispered prayer in the middle of a meeting, a silent thank you in the middle of traffic, a quiet surrender when I feel overwhelmed. Let my whole day become a conversation with you, not just these few minutes in the morning. I choose peace right now. I choose joy right now. I choose to believe that no matter what happens today, I am anchored in you. My feelings may shift, but my foundation will not. My circumstances may change, but my identity in you will not. The storms may come, but they will not destroy me, because I am held in the hands of the one who calms the seas. Lord, fill me with courage. Not the kind of courage that is loud and fearless on the outside, but the quiet courage that refuses to give up even when the path feels long. The courage that keeps praying when answers are delayed. The courage that keeps loving when it's not easy. The courage that keeps trusting when I don't understand. Thank you for being my constant. Thank you for being my strength. Thank you for being the one who sees me, knows me, and never leaves me. I step into this day with you, knowing that everything I face with the Creator of the universe walking beside me, and that is more than enough. Lord, I quiet myself before you again, because I know my soul needs more than just a quick prayer. It needs to be drenched in your presence. I can't afford to start strong in my faith only to fade by midday. I want to carry this closeness to you from morning to night. So, even now, I'm asking you to let your spirit stay so near to me that every step, every thought, and every choice is influenced by you. Father, I know my heart can be distracted so easily. The world is loud, my responsibilities are many, and my thoughts can wander into places they don't belong. So anchor me in you today. When my mind starts to drift toward fear, pull me back with reminders of your faithfulness. When my heart begins to race with anxiety, slow me down with the sound of your voice. Let me live today in a rhythm of trust, breathing in your promises and breathing out my worries. I give you my schedule, Lord. Every task, every meeting, every plan, it's all yours. If you want to change it, change it. If you want to delay something, delay it. If you want to open a door I wasn't expecting, help me walk through it with faith. And if you want to close a door I thought I needed, give me the wisdom to let go without fighting you. Your timing is perfect, even when I don't understand it. Lord, help me to be a light today, not just in big, noticeable ways, but in the quiet, unseen moments that matter the most. Let my kindness be real, not forced. Let my compassion flow naturally because I've been with you, and let my patience reflect the patience you've shown me time and time again. Protect me from the weight of comparison, Father. It's so easy to look at what others have and feel like I'm behind, but you remind me that my life is unfolding exactly how you planned it. I don't have to run someone else's race. I don't have to match someone else's timeline. I just need to walk with you at the pace you've set for me. Lord, I pray over my emotions today. Keep me steady. If frustration rises, calm me. If sadness comes, comfort me. If joy bursts forth, let me share it freely. And when I'm tired, remind me that your strength is made perfect in my weakness. Cover my family and loved ones in your protection today. Keep them safe from harm, guard their minds from lies, and fill their hearts with peace. Remind them, just like you remind me, that they are never alone no matter what they face. I ask for wisdom in every conversation I have today. Let me know when to speak and when to stay silent. Let my advice be filled with truth and love, not just opinion. Let me listen more than I talk and understand more than I judge. Father, I don't want to go through this day just existing. I want to live fully present with you. I want to notice the little ways you're moving. I want to see your fingerprints in the smallest details. I want to feel your peace in the middle of chaos. So, I choose now, before the challenges come, to trust you. I choose to believe you're working even when I can't see it. I choose to rest in your promises even when the world tells me to panic. I choose to worship instead of worry, to pray instead of complain, and to hope instead of despair. Thank you for loving me in ways I'll never fully understand. Thank you for forgiving me when I fall short. Thank you for giving me more than I deserve. Thank you for walking with me into this day and never letting go of my hand. I step forward with faith, knowing that no matter what happens, I am secure in you.
Lord, I'm still here with you because I know my heart needs more. I don't just want to start my day in prayer and then drift away. I want to carry this conversation with you through every hour. So even now, I'm asking you to keep my spirit awake to your presence, to keep my mind aware that you are here. Father, I don't want my emotions to control my actions today. Teach me to respond, not react. When something frustrates me, give me a moment to breathe before I speak. When disappointment tries to creep in, let your truth remind me that my story isn't over. When joy comes, help me savor it and share it. Lord, I surrender my worries again. They try to return, they knock on the door of my mind, but I refuse to let them stay. Instead, I choose to hand them to you as many times as it takes. Even if I have to pray this same prayer 10 times today, I will, because I'd rather give it to you over and over than carry it for 1 second longer than I should. I pray for clarity today, God. When I feel confused or pulled in too many directions, give me one clear step to take. Remind me that I don't need to see the whole road. I just need to follow your lead one step at a time. Cover me in your peace, Lord. Let it be the shield that guards my heart and the anchor that steadies my thoughts. When I walk into a room, let that peace go with me. When I speak, let it come through my words. When I listen, let it flow through my silence. Help me to keep my priorities in order today. Don't let busyness crowd out what truly matters. Keep keep me from getting so caught up in doing things that I forget to be with you. Remind me that my worth isn't in my productivity, it's in being your child. Lord, I lift up every need that weighs on me right now, the things I've been praying for, the situations I wish would change, the people I'm concerned about. I place them all in your hands. Even the things I don't understand, I trust that you are working for good. Strengthen my faith today. Let it be more than just words I say. Let it be the foundation I stand on. When doubts whisper, let your truth speak louder. When fear knocks, let faith answer. When temptation comes, give me the strength to walk away. I also ask, Lord, that you use me to encourage someone today. It doesn't have to be big or dramatic, maybe just a kind word, a listening ear, or a small act of love. But whatever it is, let it be exactly what they need in that moment. Thank you for being the God who sees me, hears me, and walks with me. Thank you that I don't have to go through this day alone. Thank you that your grace is enough for whatever I face. I step into this day holding on to you, knowing you will hold on to me even tighter.